Hi, welcome to this module where I'll present a composting case study from Bali, Indonesia. As you can see, I even put on my batik shirt for this special occasion. First of all, I would like to thank David Küpper. He's the initiator of the Temesi recycling center that we'll be talking about, and he provided us with most of the background information. In Indonesia, the island of Bali is most famous for its beautiful nature, landscape, and beaches. Given this situation, Bali is also Indonesia's primary travel destination. But tourism, littering, lack of appropriate waste management service are jeopardizing this pristine situation. Waste is often burned at the roadside, disposed indiscriminately in the countryside, rivers and canals, thus polluting beaches and even coral reefs. The Rotary Club of Bali in Ubud started addressing this problem of waste and sponsored a waste recovering facility in Temesi, which is in the Regency of Gianyar, where also the city of Ubud is located. In 2004, a pilot facility for waste recovery with a capacity of about 4 tons per day was built in the village of Temesi on the old landfill site. At this pilot facility, the composting procedures were learnt and optimized. A state-of-the-art research station and fully equipped laboratory were also established at that pilot site, and they also received international academic support by visiting researchers. This pilot facility operated until June 2007 and had already gained wide local and international attention, and thus, of course, raised high expectations for a future large-scale facility. By 2007, they then felt that all required knowledge and experience had been established to be able to expand the capacity from 4 tons to 60 tons per day. But they did this stepwise. In 2008, the first phase of such a large facility with a waste processing capacity of 30 tons per day was completed. Then, in the second half of 2009, an expansion to a final 60 tons of waste per day begun, and it was operational in January 2010. The old pilot plant area was converted into an environmental park and environmental education center. This is the layout of the recycling center. A roofed area covers a large part: the waste separation area, the shredding area, the composting area, and the sieving and bagging area. The roof is to avoid heavy rainfalls in the rainy season and keep the rain out of the composting heaps. Here you can see this large roofed area and also the delivery of waste at the bottom left in this red truck. Temesi's focus lies on organic waste. Given the waste characteristics in Bali, 85% of this waste is organic and biodegradable. This organic fraction is processed into compost. After arrival of the waste at the site, the waste is sorted by a cooperative of recyclers. The recyclers separate 85% of the organics and 7% of other recyclables from the waste. The recyclables are sold to nearby agents and middlemen, and the organics are sold to the Temesi facility at 45,000 Indonesian rupiah per ton. That's around $3.3. About 8% are residues, not organic and of no recycling value. These are disposed of at the landfill close by. If the biodegradable waste has large components in it, these are shredded. Then the bio-waste is piled to large heaps, called tables. The tables are turned with a front loader every 2 weeks. The compost tables are actively aerated by radial centrifugal air blowers. It showed that axial propeller fans did not give the expected results. During this whole active composting period, which lasts around 3 months, the composting parameters temperature, oxygen, and moisture are always measured. The compost is left for another 1 month to mature. So finally, after a total period of 3 to 4 months, the compost is sieved and bagged for sale. Main customers are the tourism industry, hotels for their gardens and parks, but also landscapers and home gardens. This scheme summarizes the treatment steps, starting off with waste separation, receiving the biodegradable fraction, shredding if the components in the waste are too large, piling the waste onto heaps, here called tables, active aeration of these tables and turning every 2 weeks, and 1 additional month for maturation, then sieving and bagging with quality control also at the end. One important factor is also the education center. It often receives schools and other visitors to create awareness of the waste issue and educate on recycling. So much for the technical details. But there are also other factors that make this case so successful. A major milestone of the project was to transfer the ownership and management of the facility to a new foundation. This was in December 2008. What was created is a private-public partnership, the Yayasan Pemilahan Sampah Temesi. That stands for Temesi Waste Separation Foundation. It is firmly anchored in the village and the village administration. Also, vulnerable women have an equal opportunity to participate in the project. It is a declared employment policy of the project to give priority to the needy. Then, since August 2009, Temesi operates with a quality control system. It ensures product quality, work discipline, and consideration of consumer satisfaction. It has a quality manual, operating procedure, and work instruction manual. From an economic perspective, Temesi is a registered CO2 mitigation project. It obtains carbon credits, which have a certain price. It has a partnership with a large international travel agency, where the customers of the travel agency can compensate their CO2 emissions through a voluntary compensation fee buying these carbon credits for Temesi. For the compost sales, main customers are the tourism industry, the hotels for their gardens and parks, but also landscapers and home gardens. Temesi is reported to be economically sustainable. If the compost can be sold at 410,000 Indonesian rupiahs per ton, that's around $30 per ton. All in all, the Temesi site recycles 92% of the waste, which extends the lifespan of the landfill by more than a factor of 10. Developing this recycling center and compost facility had a large impact not only on the environment by transforming the old disposal site into a nice recycling center, into a well-managed and attractive recycling facility. This activity also shows that you can create employment opportunities, and it shows that improvements are possible and waste management is not a dirty and polluting activity. In fact, due to its success, the facility received various awards and recognitions nationally and internationally for its performance and its sustainability. Well, that was the composting case of Temesi in Bali, Indonesia. Let's summarize a few important aspects. First of all, aspects of technical sustainability. Simple, functional, technical approaches were used. They started small and learnt on the way to larger scale. They also put a strong focus on always ensuring quality of the process and quality of the product. They also had the aspect of social and organizational sustainability by integrating it into the village setting and creating employment opportunities for the vulnerable. The aspect of economic sustainability by ensuring a market demand for the compost and the element of obtaining additional revenues through the carbon credit scheme. In the next module, we'll look at other biowaste treatment approaches besides composting. So stay with us.